think I can even go up. Nope. Still master. That should be okay. But also, because I'm a totally professional streamer, I haven't changed my category. Yay! Um, that, uh, yes. Hooray! So yeah, I'm going to play one round of Death Must Die because someone in my chat asked me about this specific genre of game, or should I say I made a comment about that and started to talk about it, and they didn't know what it is. So basically, it's a bullet hell, and I'm going to go one down. So basically, it's a bullet hell auto battler, so to say, where you control a character, but you're not really attacking yourself. In this specific game, you can, but usually in this genre, it's like you just walk around. It sounds really stupid at first, but when you play it, you will understand it takes quite some skill to actually do it properly. So this is a game that still is in early access. As you can see, I think they plan to make up to 8 levels based on those markings here. And they just recently released a second level to the existing first one. They also released new things, like this character is completely new. So this is basically your achievement overview window. I haven't figured out if it gives you anything if you achieve everything. Okay. The reason, I'll come back to you in a second. This is just, this is lore. This is actually lore. Which you can find. You have characters. These characters are here. Think of classes that work a little bit different. This is our rogue. This is hard to tell. We have our barbarian, our mage, our standard paladin knight, and here new the archer. This is our shopkeeper. Shopkeeper sells you stuff. Think of it as a Diablo style system. Every equipment is randomized, has different stats on it. Your character has stats. This is very Diablo-like. Limited inventory. By the way, I've read what you said, we have noise. I will come back to that in a second. And you have currency, which you basically pick up in the levels or you sell items to get it. Of course, you have also a stash here with multiple tabs. This is currently empty because I have not much stuff that I kept. And story-wise, you do not know much. You basically come up here to this mountain, which I'm going to show you. This is basically on top of a mountain. And basically you start with a character coming to this mountain and they say like they wanna kill death. Everybody here has a reason to kill death. But the reasons are not told to you yet. And the game itself basically uses uses as inspiration from Hades, a system where gods gonna give you abilities. And you will see it's very similar to what Hades is doing. Have I played a lot of Diablo? I never played Diablo 1, but I played Diablo 2 with a friend. And that's all of Diablo I played. I didn't play 3 or 4. I otherwise played alternatives to Diablo like Torchlight 1 and 2. But I didn't finish those games. I basically dipped into Torchlight 1. And then I basically also dipped into Torchlight 2, but I didn't feel too much motivated to play it. I will say that I really enjoyed Diablo 2. It was fun. It's most likely related to the lore itself, which was really good lore. I also oh wait, and I also forgot. I also played oh god, I always forget the name. The alternative they made from an Australian team, GGG, Path of the Exile. Path of Exile. Path of Exile. I also played Path of Exile. Did I finish Path of Exile though? I think I never reached the actual ending of Path of Exile, but I played pretty far into it. In Path of Exile I liked that you can do so much when it comes to customization. But in the end it becomes also a cookie cutter thing because everybody figures out the correct ways to level your character, and then you go with a build and that's it. And I don't know, I didn't like the system of leagues they put in. So if you don't know, in Path of Exile you have like your game. You start with a new character, you go through the story until the end, and then there is endgame content with randomized dungeons and so on. But then they have leagues, and leagues are like seasons, so to say, that go on for, I don't know, 2 to 3, 4 months, something like that, and then they bring in a new season. And season means only one thing. They gonna introduce a specific feature into the game that runs only for that time. For example, they make a season and say like, now you have like horde waves of this specific invasion throughout the game, and those specific mini games that are related to it, and characters. They put also story in it as well. Like one season literally had, you find random spots where you can go and play the season related mini game where you have to, for example, escort a mine cart through a dungeon maze where you have to defend it and bring it to the end point, something like that. And that was what leagues are in the game. And basically also you had to consider When you play a league, you literally have this character only in this specific league. That means when this league ends, your character is basically gone. So you basically play the same game, the same story with different features defined by the league, and you try to farm content, you farm items, you sell items, and you transfer items to a new character in a new league where you basically start over again from the beginning and you play through the exact same storyline but with the new league features. And while that is not a bad idea, I feel like it's kind of like boring after 1 or 2 times, because you basically just keep playing exactly the same storyline, the same game, except now you make a different class and you play a few features that weren't existing in the previous league. I don't know, some people that's enough and they feel very compelled to do it. I personally don't like it. Even Blizzard saw that, because a lot of people went away from Diablo when 3 came out. Before the DLC to 3 came out, a lot of people left Diablo and went to Path of Exile, because Path of Exile felt more compelling and better than Diablo in its Diablo 3 in its original form. And then they released DLC content to Diablo 3, and the DLC content was far better than the base content. Funnily enough, they keep doing this in every Diablo game. It's like every time they bring out a Diablo game and it's like good or it's bad, and then they release a DLC content story update to the existing game, and then it becomes actually much better. So it's funny. They do this really in every single Diablo game. So everybody is interested to see if 4 is going to do the same. But yeah, that's basically what I played in Diablo Styles game. So just to show, this is the new level, by the way. So I activated right now the auto attack. If I deactivate it, I have to do it myself. I can press in a direction to attack there. There is a dedicated...
Infinity is at your side.
There's a dedicated attack button on the other hand. And also, as you might notice now, this is the very Hades related content. So they have exactly the same thing that happens in Hades when a god shows up to give you an ability. They show up, they tell you something, most likely sometimes related to the story. And here we are. So a random god is going to show up and they gonna offer you related abilities to your theme. So you can choose one of those 3 abilities, and then over time when you level up, they might come back and give you a higher level of the same ability, plus of course non-existing abilities that you have. And you have to balance out if you want to concentrate on some abilities or you want to make a more broad approach to the entire thing. So here's one. It's like attacks become strong and bounce between enemies. Then you have this. Dash leaves a vortex that pulls enemies in. Or your attack hits have a chance to shoot out aiming missiles that damage enemies. Now, of course, the third ability sounds very convincing, but you also have to consider what it does. So there's only a 15% chance it happens, and the damage is only 12 to 12. Sure, it's a secure 12 damage, but 12 damage is not much. I mean, look at this. If I would use this, then every enemy pulled in by the vortex would receive 110 damage. That's like 10 times the damage. But I'm usually going with this, where it just makes more attacks. So, as you see, now my attacks bounce. You see these enemies with crowns? Those are elites.
Justice is impartial.
This is another god. Increases your movement speed after a dash. You gain a shield after the cooldown is through. Or you get an aura that damages enemies and increases its damage over time. I usually go with this. So enemies also drop items that you can pick up. It is important to understand.
The Reaper does not listen to the harvest, so maybe it's high time he started.
So it's also important to understand that you should not just walk around, you also need to dash, because enemies will start to overwhelm you, become faster. Some have jump attacks that you have to avoid. So that's the Daughter of Death. Like I said, we have no idea what happened. Death did something that upset every god and the characters that you play, but we do not know what. Sickles, raise skeletons, or spawn phantoms. I like calling for skeletons a summon. So currently I have an ability that drags any experience to me, which is good, because you want to level as much as possible, because it means every time you level, you can literally become stronger. You have the ability to banish certain abilities, but you also can alternate alterations. Alterations, if I understand it correctly, would change the god. So currently we are with the time god. So if I look at this and say like, nothing of this is to my interest, I could now use alteration to get an offer, 3 offerings from a different god. Or I could banish something, because I don't want to use it at all. I have to be honest, I have barely ever used those, unlike in other bullet hell games. This can be very useful, and I think I'm gonna use that. So basically it creates a time field for a short amount of time. Everything is getting slowed down, any ranged ability is getting blocked, and then it goes into a cooldown, and after 26 seconds of cooldown it creates automatically another time field. It's this, as you can see. See, it got slowed down because the time field was already done. It's all a little bit hectic, and in this game, as you might notice, it's similar to a Diablo style game. It's more cartoony, intentional, but it has this, but it has the Diablo vibe, you know, the music, the setting, the enemies. And in this game, you're encouraged to move a lot on the map. So the map is not limited. It's a basically unlimited sized map. But you can find blessings. You can find stuff in urns that you have to attack. I play on auto attack, so that means, see here, I play on auto attack because basically this game, unlike the others in this genre, gives you the ability to manually attack if you want to. But I don't like that. Like, it's annoying when I play this kind of genre. But that's my personal opinion about that. I don't mind that they built it in and said like, basically we want you to attack whenever you feel like. They also built the idea in that you couldn't use the other analog stick, press it in the direction you want to attack, and it automatically makes an attack in that direction. Which is fine, which is good, but if you don't want to do that, you can just press R1 and then it automatically attacks the nearest enemy. There was a big problem with this game at the beginning. They only changed it with the patch that just came out with this new level, where they said like, when you attack, your character slows down. And that's very bad. It's absolutely terrible. It's like they had it and then the fans basically complained a ton about this. Because when you think about it, you have a character in a game that does auto attacks, but you are supposed to control this character, keep it mobile, avoid attacks, avoid enemies. And the last thing you want is that your character is slowing down when you attack in a game where you constantly have to attack. Because sure, you could avoid all the enemies and just run around and try just to dodge that, but that's not the idea. The idea is kill as many enemies as possible so you can level up your character as much as possible, because you will encounter bosses and you will not stand a chance neither against the increasing amount of enemies getting thrown at you, nor the bosses if you are underleveled. So I understand on one side that they tried to do something different, but it's just not a good decision for this kind of game. Because it made you... Because think about it, you want to move and attack at the same time. And if the game goes like, well, you slow down when you attack, and the game also emphasizes explore the map because you can find temporary and permanent upgrades, then you are ripped apart between should I attack and level, what the game actually wants me to do, or shall I explore the map and also get increased strength, but I cannot do both at the same time. And that was a real big problem. And then now they changed that. They say that there is an option to activate and deactivate this, but I honestly haven't found it. Like, I haven't found it, and it seems by standard it is now really that you just move on your normal moving speed even when you attack. So yeah. There are other kinds of games like this, but they don't do that. And this is still a bullet hell game that I say is still easier when it comes to the total chaos that bullet hell games can go into. I have another game called Soulstone Survivor that does the opposite thing, like when the game really goes insane, depending on the difficulty you set the stage into. And I think the most extreme version of all of this is Vampire Survivors, where you literally can end up on a screen filled with, I don't know, dozens and dozens, like 50 plus enemies at the same time, all trying to kill you. But you still can manage that, as crazy as it sounds. So in the game there are places and things you can activate. Some of them give you temporary buffs, some give you permanent buffs. Some ask of you to make a choice. Some automatically just give you flat out something. Also, there are places where you can heal. And sometimes, if you're lucky, an enemy or an elite enemy is dropping a heart, which also heals you. Healing in this specific game is pretty important, but it's also uncommon to find any healing items. So here, basically, it says like, take a choice. Do you want to lose movement speed and gain damage? Do you want to lose area but get damage? Do you want dash recharge speed, a loss, and gain damage? Or do you want 4% chance to resist any negative status effect? So these choices usually give you always at least a bad and a good choice. And I have to say I'd rather lose some area but gain some damage. Here's the time sphere again. This makes often a lot of enemies easy to kill. There's also something that is coming up that can easily kill you when you don't know it. And the first time you play this game, you don't know it. So, effects of casts, if you wonder about this, see on the left side, it tells you what it is. Like, this is a passive ability, this is a cast ability, this is an attack ability. And you can press this button and see, okay, I have these things. So if you're unsure if you want something specifically, you can always check. I'm going with this. So here, for example, is that, and it healed me for 10 life. The red areas you see coming from enemies are attack zones. You always get a moment before they attack. And there was a heart to heal me and an elite mob that dropped the chest, which always gives you a level up. And this is very funny. So this is going to increase the damage of your summons permanently every 60 seconds, which I'm going to take.
What will you choose?
That's a good question. I never understood lifeline. It goes like, oh, increase your life by 13%. It sounds good, but is it? I don't know what my normal maximum life is, but what is 13 life if you had 100? That's basically a hit or something like that sometimes. I'm going with this. You see the minimap in the top right? This yellow point there shows you where something is to interact with. So there was a grave and nothing was in it. That's often the case when you find graves. Also, maybe to point out, when you do auto attacks, it will not attack the vases. You basically had to turn off auto attack and manually attack the vases. Or you keep auto attack on, stand in the middle of the vases, and then they getting attacked as well. You see here, weapon stand, dropped an item. If you're wondering, here's our inventory, the items we picked up. Sadly, it's all trash. Which will happen a lot. So, they introduced with the latest patch that you also can increase the difficulty. And the difficulty increase will also increase the quality of loot. So that's gonna be a thing. This here currently runs on standard difficulty. And I'm gonna go with this because Smite is stunning enemies. And it says when they start attacking me, there's a chance of 8% that they might get stunned. Which is worth a lot sometimes. So here's a boss, should I say a mini boss. So it looks a lot of chaotic for most of the time. It can be, but it always depends on the game. Like the other game, Soulstone Survivors, for example, can be extremely chaotic. But I find it actually quite calm. It's kind of funny. I'm gonna increase the time field a bit. You will see very soon why it is beneficial to have either a lot of AoE, which is area of area of damage, either AoE or status effect that kill enemies faster or slow them down. And I'm going to do this. Now basically I can do a charge and leaving a small vortex that drags in enemies. There you go. So basically when you play this game, you try to keep moving on the map. You try to find as many of these yellow points on your minimap, because like I said, those contain passive abilities, temporary and permanent, and you want to be as strong as possible before you actually encounter real bosses. And playing this and explaining it is actually not so easy. I wish. Ah, here we found a book. That's good. That's for the library. El Biblioteca. And going with some armor here. it's usually a good strategy to having either 1 or 2 charges and left. So here's a problem. Now the game makes those flames, aka the region where we can move is reduced. Like the flames will damage you or even kill you instantly. So now what the game is going to do is throw a challenge at us that we have to do within this encaged area. Now on this level, it's not as crazy as in the first level. So in the first level, this also happens. And in the first level, you're getting swarmed by a lot of slimes. But here, you don't get swarmed by slimes. You have some enemies coming in, but it's mostly meant for those special enemies that you're going to see right now. These things. And they are not nice. As you see, they do lasers. And yes, it's not your cat at home doing those noises, it's the game. I was quite irritated by that. When I first heard it. Yeah, going with more armor. The problem is the game throws multiple of those enemies at you, and you can imagine it's a bit annoying because you have to dodge multiple lasers at once. The rest was quite manageable with the enemies. Oh god, these enemies. These enemies are really, really, really annoying. Yes, because they are fast, they can jump, and they have a big range attack. Well
Death
range.
used to be impartial in his duty, and Mort was always too attached to life. So I expected she would be the one to defy the law, yet here we are.
And like I said, like the random gods you encounter, they sometimes drop some lore stuff on you and go like here. Which is good, which is a nice thing because like it gives you some input and not just like, here's a book, read it. So that's nice. It's also surprising when you think about it because you have to keep in mind this is an indie game. And having voice acting in an indie game is not so common. As I say, as there are some visual novel games out there with a lot of voice acting. I'm not gonna live much longer here because it's pretty hardcore. Like the level on its normal difficulty is already difficult. In contrast to the first level. Apparently I overlooked something there. Oh, it's healed. Good. I've got 3 max life, which is good. 10 life healed and instantly lost them. Great. The thing over time you learn the game, you understand what's going on. As most games do in this genre, there's a time limit going on, as you see in the top middle section. And at certain time intervals, you will encounter specific enemies and events. This here is quite difficult. This boss is also extremely difficult to kill. I think I never killed this boss before. Because you're so busy dodging all the enemies. And also the boss itself, the boss himself is not very nice. And explaining things while playing this game is also very difficult. But it's okay. It was for demonstration purposes. So, you come back after each time you die. That is part of the game. You can interact with those people. You will be surprised because, like, they gave some characters pretty modern personalities. For example, this one. Which you don't see right now, but... Let's see if I can get... As you see, these two characters talk pretty much like modern people do on the internet. So that's maybe throwing off some people. I was surprised to see something like that in a game like this as well. But I don't mind. It's kind of funny and relieving to see it. Regardless, when you play a level and you die, you come back here. Sometimes people have like some dialogue that's indicated with glowing over the character. This time there wasn't. This still... Dracula won't miss this. I don't think so. So, you can change characters. It doesn't matter. The inventory stays the same. So basically this is what we picked up in our run. I think this is the only thing that we can say like, okay, it's kind of worth it. And you can luckily change not the character you play, but for the inventory and thing. And basically the inventory, and you want to figure out who could use this. They were so nice to make you able to switch between the characters, which is good. And of course they gave you a comparison tool here, as you see on the middle bottom. You see at the top is the one that is in our current slot, and below, if you put this in, those stats will change. And since this is a pure upgrade, I can give her that. Now we have this, and we can put this in here. Which is good, because you basically want all of that here. So 2 of 5. Law! So I would say... I think they can work on this. But this doesn't have priority, and that's completely okay. But I think in the end they should make this like more like a bookshelf, where you literally have like tabs where the law goes into the correct tab, and then you have it also sorted in the correct way, so you don't have to figure out which one belongs to which. I don't know. So that would be good. So as for last of this, we see actually like all of this is trash. Like you don't need that because usually you already have better stuff. I agree, she has not all the better stuff. And it's always a question of like, how do you want to build your character, of course. Like there's no real correct way to do it. It's all up to you. But basically, you can sell most of that stuff instantly at the shop. So there's not, it's not worth to keep those. There is no benefit to it. And this is your shop. Like in Diablo, it changes every time you made a run, it changes. You cannot actually really roll the entire thing. Like basically say like, hey, re-roll your shop. It doesn't have this function, but I can assume that they will build it in because I think a lot of people would at some point prefer to be able to re-roll the shop when they start farming for specific items. But yeah. But that's basically what a bullet hell game that is not a shmup, shoot 'em up, that's an evolution of bullet hell games. Like usually bullet hell games are flying ships or characters in a very small space where you have to dodge a lot of bullets, hence why it's called bullet hell. But this is like an evolution of that, where you do a bit of other things. So yeah. I just wanted to show this because I think it's interesting to see, especially for people who have never really heard of this genre. Let me put a marker here. Uh, duh, duh, duh. I'll give you a short comparison. It's not gonna take long. Didn't I already have one? No. Okay. Specific window. Yay. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spend much time here. I just want to show you the difference. There we go. Don't worry, the audio is not broken. I usually disable music. Okay, so just in comparison, like this is basically the same genre. It's also a bullet hell game, just different. So people who do not like a cartoony style will most likely not play this game, which is understandable. So basically you have your achievements here. There's a skill tree. It looks a little bit like this. So basically you have your characters. There are a lot of classes. The interesting part here is really they have different classes, and these classes have a skill tree which is limited. You can get all stuff in here completely if you keep grinding the character. Yeah, it looks big, but when you think about it, you basically start here in the middle. When you have filled everything out here, then the individual classes unlock. Like, you have the classes, but the ability trees for those classes unlock only after you have filled out everything in the middle. It looks crazy, but it's actually not crazy. It just needs a lot of space because there are a lot of characters. So, let's see, where's a good character to explain? Is the Sentinel that what I think? So basically, let's take this. So the Sentinel is basically your ranger. How easily to get points? I don't think it's too difficult. You will see that you can reduce grinding in this game depending how you set the difficulty. It takes a moment when you start a complete new game here. You will have to play a certain amount of time, because the more you play, the more difficulty levels you unlock, and more difficulty levels give you more rewards if you use them. I will show you in a moment. So basically, you have the ranger here, right? When the ranger is, you have a character. Okay, you have a character, but each character feels like the same. So you fill out this, and then you get access to the ability tree of the character. You will not see all of this from the beginning. The best example is here. See, here we have the spell blade. So when you start, you basically see this to this part. So you see all this middle part is not visible to you. Thank you, chat, for reconnecting. Also, I should change the category. I'm really good. I'm a streamer, by the way. Highly professional. I always keep forgetting that. There we go. Set a new marker. Hey. Thank you, chat. I'm back. So basically, this middle part is not visible at the beginning. You see only like these abilities here. So basically you farm, you get crystals which you can use, and then you can start to level stuff. When you have put enough points in it, the next part becomes visible, and so on, until it's basically all visible. So you might think like, oh, yeah, here, minus soulstones, right? That's all you need to level this. No, wrong. Basically every ability you see here has different kinds of costs that increase every time you level it. So let's see if I have it. Do I still have some? Look here. For example, the Death Knight I have here, which is over here. So let's see. Let me check. Okay. So here. Let's go with this. So it costs 5,500 of those, which I have, of course, bazillion of them. Now it's more expensive. And now it changes. So for the next one, I need 3 of those. Because, well, you have different stones here that you will use to unlock abilities. So I can press this. And now it needs 4 blue. And that's how the leveling system goes. So you don't farm just one soul stone to unlock abilities. You need to unlock multiple ones. There's a reason for that. Because the game wants you to increase the difficulty to farm those higher end soul stones. So you can level your characters. So let's come back here to the Sentinel. So basically when you play him the first time, he's like just any other character, nothing special. Just a character, has no special abilities or something. But when you start to put points into him, he has character specific traits. For example, this one. The Sentinel may now track wild panthers, creating a bond that allows her to mount them, becoming considerably more powerful while mounted. So you play the game, at some point a panther is going to spawn, which you can find. There's an indicator where the panther is. Go there, and then you need to follow that panther for a specific amount of time to tame it, and then you jump on the back of the panther, and now you have a lot of more movement. But also, while you are on the panther, you also get increased possibilities. Like here, okay, this is to reduce the amount of time to tame it, but here it increases like certain stats, like making you use abilities faster, more, get more crit, and so on. And so every class has something specific to them. Some characters can enter specific states where they suddenly become more casting wise and put crits out. Then there are other classes that basically have things like I can now summon. There's a class that basically can build ballistas around the level, but you have first to farm for the specific items that you need to build one, which only drop from time to time. This guy, for example, is the assassin, which can receive from time to time special bounties, which is a specific enemy on the map that is gonna be indicated on the map. You kill that and you get rewarded for that. So while you basically play the map, you also can then do these special things. Like there's another character like the Beastmaster, where you basically have to track footprints, and when you find all of them, you're gonna summon like 5 raptors for a short amount of time. And so you can basically play every class specifically. Hello there, Yeet. I'm gonna murder that name. Kituya. Hi there, Asla. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're all doing fine. I'm currently explaining what Soulstone Survivors is in comparison to Death Must Die. Thank you for the follow. Very much appreciated. And so every class has a specific ability that they use. On top of that, when you level the ability trees, here, there are also specific abilities that will be applied to all of your characters. In other words, it incentivizes that you level the characters because of this. So increases area modifier by an additional 5%. It's not much, but think about it, how many characters exist. And it's not just area, it's specific, like more crit, faster movement. So when you do this, then you strengthen every character with this. So that's another incentive why you should level your characters. And you also unlock runes with your characters. What are runes? Runes is an additional system, which is this. You have big runes and you have small runes. Small runes are up here and the big ones are down there. Each rune has a cost. So this costs 3, this costs 3, 3, and this 1. All in all, 10 points. Which means you can build the character around a specific theme or a specific way to play. So there are many things you can do. I usually, because I don't recommend this at the beginning, but I play this because it's fun, where I have no control over the skills that will be offered. The active skills getting offered to my character is not my choice. It just randomly pulls one. I like that because it makes every run a little bit different, and sometimes it's a really good choice and sometimes it's a really bad choice. But it doesn't matter. It's like this game is built around play it, die, play again. This is more meant towards... This here is meant towards farming. There are 2 small runes that are meant for farming, where you get more materials. And of course you want more materials because you want to level your characters, of course. All that here, down here, are simply meant for make a build specifically how you want to do it. In this case, I made one that has a 10% chance to kill enemies who have 40% less than 40% health instantly, and with elites it's at 10. That's pretty strong, but it's only 10%, so it's not a given, and you will see it makes a big difference because it's becoming extremely chaotic at later levels. Increases all damage you deal by 30%, but decreases the area of your skills by 15%. I just took this to make a variety towards what I'm usually playing. This is also good. Increases your critical damage chance by 100%, so you will only deal crit damage against enemies with less than 30% health. This is a good combination with this rune, because if you don't kill them instantly, you will crit them constantly. So that's great. This one is a basic revive if you die. I think it's not necessary, but it's probably the best rune for one runic power. But this is very subjective. You can play this as much as you want. Like, this one is always a good choice. Like, imagine that all your skills have a chance to create a negative effect of either burn, bleed, poison or doom. That's pretty strong. What's next? You have a blacksmith. So every character you have here has a weapon. So you start, when you first start this game, you have your character, you have your basic weapon, this one. Now, if you basically want different abilities, which you also can unlock for your other characters with a specific rune, you have to forge those weapons. So You see, you start with a normal weapon and then these 3 weapons for each character you can forge, which give you a new ability and different stat modifiers for your character. So as you see, you don't see my cursor. Great. One moment. Capture cursor. There we go. Yay, you see my cursor. So basically here, top right, you see these multipliers, negative and positive, they change with whatever weapon you are using. It's not such a big impact as you might think, but in the beginning it might be. Like before you really start to level your characters, it can make a difference. There are also weapon special skills. There's also a rune that allows you to do that. You start the game with the special weapon skill for your currently select weapon. aka when you equip this weapon here, you usually start with one ability. That's this one, the Shockwave. If you had inputted the other rune I just showed you, you would start with 2 abilities, the Shockwave and the Demolish. There's a further customization of your character. Characters are unlocked basically by playing existing characters. You will not start with all those characters. You will start with, I think, the first row, and then you level those characters. The leveling, by the way, is automatically, so you don't have to do some stats or anything else. It just does it on its own. Basically, when your round is over, it will tell you, oh, you collected so many XP and now you're level whatever. So that happens on its own. And then you basically start to get new characters in, and these new characters can be unlocked, but you have to pay resources here to unlock them. So, to understand the whole thing again, it's like we're gonna take this character, which is not so high yet. It's only 72. This is my highest character, which is 181. And I think you still can go higher. I haven't tried yet. So, if I go here on fight, these are your levels. Okay? So you have, yes, I know it looks not like much, but it's okay because your incentive is to unlock stuff, farm stuff, and it doesn't matter that much that you don't have many levels. So you have only 5 levels, and these levels start at level 1. So you might see we have this here. This is the difficulty tiers, so to say. So basically, I guess I have to do comparison here. Let's see. As you might see, these are various factors that increase the difficulty of your level, of your game. But as you also see up here, as I uncheck those things, you will see that these materials start to disappear. The reason for that is the game puts specific materials behind a difficulty level. That means the higher your curse intensity, aka difficulty, is, the more materials you can farm in this specific level. Which you need because you wanna forge weapons, you wanna level your characters, And that's the idea behind it. So if I go here and say like, you can also disable curses. Also to mention before, you could only do the following. This is not applicable anymore, but before the patch happened, you were starting with no curses, and then you could add curses. As you see, if I click here, I get more minor soul stones, more prestige. Prestige is your XP for the character. You see, now it goes up, it goes up, it goes up, and suddenly adds more common minerals. One moment. I don't have to cough in your ears. So basically, in the normal game before, it was like you can do this and create more difficult fights for more rewards. Only if you did this and beat it, yes, you have to beat it, then it would unlock the next tier. And then you could just add to this. As you see, it gives you more stones, gives you more minerals. It adds uncommon minerals now. And so it keeps going on. So higher difficulty means more rewards. See, now it added rare minerals. Look at here, we have 3 now. We have 2 now. So I give you a small comparison. So we take all the curses off and go in. So basically it's the same concept as the previous game. You automatically attack. And you farm, right? As you see, there's already a comparison to the other game. A lot of more enemies appear at the beginning in comparison. There will be no gods, there will be no talk. It's literally a pure bullet hell game. And you get presented with active abilities, as active abilities are these here. So you have 2, 4, 6 ability slots. You have these 6 ability slots. Those are your attacks. So you have to choose whatever you want here, unless you have the rune in, which I do. That chooses automatically an ability. If you do it manually, you can choose up to 6. And then after 6, you can choose another one. So you can keep choosing active abilities. But if you want them, you have to replace the one of the existing 6. And those are the passive abilities, which will pop up in between, where you have to decide what do you want to build here. And as you see, it has of course different rarities. So basically those are the normal ones because they are white. Green means means uncommon. Then there's rare, which is blue, and then we have like purple and legendary, epic, whatever comes after that. And you have to decide what you want to do, like in the other game, literally. So it's always not bad to pick up more experience. Again, you also have a charge. Of course you do. Otherwise you wouldn't survive those enemies. In An interesting fact is you can touch enemies. They will not damage you if you touch the enemies. Only red indicated areas where they're going to attack you are the areas that will damage you. So, as you see, it might seem like a lot more of enemies than in the other game, but this is harmless. When you first play this and you don't have much experience with bullet hell games, this might seem overwhelming. It might even feel overwhelming. And you will most likely be stressed out in the beginning when you play this game, or any of these genres of game, which is understandable, but over time you get used to it. You understand how the enemies work, you understand what enemies will spawn at certain points, and then, as strange as it sounds, it becomes actually quite relaxing to play. And this is just to show you, like, okay, this is how it is. An interesting part in this game is the following. So you can activate and deactivate a lot of information in this game. For example, if you are not interested to see if an enemy has doom, burn, bleed, poison, you can deactivate it. It's okay. You can also deactivate auto aim. You can deactivate the numbers, because when it gets really chaotic, there will be a lot of numbers flying around, and it is still important to see your character, right? Because you need to know where you need to go. There's also another thing that is pretty good in this game. Find it. So there's a special effects visibility that will show you that. Like, we put it on full and resume. What does it mean? As you might notice, there's now more contrast, right? You see all the effects more clearly now. Which is nice in the beginning, of course. But when it gets really crowded, you might notice there's a problem. It's hard to see my own character anymore in all those effects. This is a boss. Basically, there are several bosses that spawn in the same level. This is a big crystal that gives you materials. I go over this a little bit fast, I know, but it doesn't matter too much right now which abilities I really pick, because I just want to give you an insight into it. It's not always the best to pick just the rarest ability you see. It's really just experience. Here you see is a legendary power. Usually it's an instant pick for most, unless you really build towards a specific goal, but otherwise it's always an instant pick. So you see, there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of effects going on, and a lot of enemies. You see me play this, but I played this game now for quite some time, so I basically know how the enemies work, and therefore I know when I can charge out. These rifts you see here is the specific ability for this class. I haven't played this class for a longer time, so I think, as you see down there, this arc here, this is filling up. And it also explains it here. It's like Killing enemies may open an astral rift and standing on it fills your astral power. So basically you see the rift there, try to stand in it. In this game, of course, it's always difficult to stand still. Been lurking, but gonna drop to play games. Ah, yeah, thank you, Asla. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lot of fun with your games. Thank you for dropping in. Absolutely nice of you. I also lurk in your streams from time to time. So basically, as you see, like, in this case, your character should try to stand or stay nearby a rift to charge this bar up here. Starting at 25% power, special rift opens and going through it grants you cosmic form. And then you get different kinds of abilities for doing this for a certain amount of time. And that's basically the idea of this class. That's only on this class, nowhere else. As you see now, I'm far more fast. I can run around because of this astral form I have right now. The bar down here is now decreasing, and then it starts the whole process over again. Bye bye, Asla. So, as you see, it becomes quite chaotic now, and it becomes really difficult to figure out where you are. And don't get the wrong impression, those bosses are not as easy as they look like here right now, because I have the experience and I have higher leveled characters. I struggled quite some time in this game before I got actually good in it. And that's okay, that's normal. So, you see, it's a lot of chaos. Now we're gonna change this setting I showed you before. So, you see this, and I'm going to put it quite low now, not completely off. But as you notice, see, the purple is far more visible, see-through. There are far less effects. Maybe the rain is coming back and gonna show me. See, those indication, there's a round blue indication corner. Usually you see like this rain or arrows raining down. They are now not really much visible. This is there are two reasons for this slider to exist. Sorry. One is, first and foremost, the visibility of your character. You need to know where you are in this entire chaos. And the other thing is, if there's so much on the screen and all those abilities and special effects going on, at some point your computer will not be very happy about that, right? And that's the reason why it makes sense to have this slider. So, I'm going to surrender this run, and as you see, this is your overview, and as you see here the bar, we collected some XP, and that's your indication. Now I'm going to show you the same thing, but in a higher difficulty, so we're gonna enable curses. Sadly, I still don't like that we just can't click on one. Also, another hint maybe. Oh, I actually did. Also, previously it was like, if you wanted to increase the difficulty, you had to go from top to bottom. Now you can individualize your choice. You don't have to go from top. If you wanted this one, you had to activate everything before the patch. Now you can individualize your choice when it comes to difficulty. And this is good because you can create specific difficulties in the level that are meant for specific farming purposes. So if you wanted to farm specifically for minerals that only bosses drop, you could increase the amount of bosses and the drop rate that bosses are going to leave behind. Things like that, right? So right now I'm just going to put a few difficulties in here. A few. Up to 7 here. I'm just going here and gonna start again. So basically the same thing, but now on a higher difficulty. I'm gonna increase this a little bit. I would never recommend to turn it off completely. So it might start the same thing as usual, but soon you will see like the enemies take a little bit longer to die in comparison to before because they have more life, they have more defenses. You see there are a few more enemies on the screen that will increase over time. There's also gonna be other things. Something that you might have not noticed, in the top right corner it says like how many enemies do you need to eliminate before a boss encounter starts. That is the same thing as before, but you most likely have to kill more bosses now to actually finish the level, right? Another thing you're gonna see very soon, I think on this difficulty it should do that. Let's see. The music is actually quite good. There are not many tracks on the music, but you can listen to them for an extended period of time and not really get bored of it. But at some point you've heard it too much and then you go like, I'm gonna listen to my own music. Let's see. So basically, see these minerals, you have to attack them and then you collect those minerals. This here is a healing crystal, which I just destroyed, which then automatically heals you for a certain amount. I'm just looking. As you see, the red damage zones are the only things that actually can damage you. You can touch the enemies, it's fine. You see also when you block an attack, which is 100% damage avoidance, which is very useful. Still looking for something specific. I'm not sure if it's going to show up in this. There it is. See in the top, the indication? These towers now start to spawn on certain difficulty levels. And they basically keep attacking you over the entire map. Yes, the entire map. So it's in your best interest to find the towers and kill them. Also, what you notice, before we had only one boss going on, now it's multiple bosses at the same time. And you have to dodge quite a lot of stuff. Like the enemy is not going to despawn because the bosses are here. Not at all. And this is like the difference. Like, difficulty will increase enemy rates, make them more tough, add more bosses, add towers, add actually enemies that can literally explode in your face. And I'm not playing like optimal here, of course, because I'm explaining all of this while doing this. but I still don't feel too much stressed about it. Like I said, like the enemies and the bosses are literally just practice. Like over time you understand how bosses work and you can more easily dodge their attacks. But as you see, it's already a big difference to the previous one. Like, I'm still fighting the same bosses where I literally destroyed the bosses last time. And this only gets more chaotic over time, so there's also the additional thing, when you finish a level, you have a choice. You have a choice of just go back, finish this run. You have the choice of going into an arena, which is literally an arena, like a spherical room, where you basically do the same as here, but you have a lot less space. And that is, for farming purposes, often the case that it is better, because you can, like, be more efficient with it. But at the same time, because when you have the arena, it's just a spherical room. There are no objects in it. Like here, you see, you have like a hill here, a mountain, a stone wall that can block enemies from reaching you. Certain attacks don't go through solid objects like a laser beam, but like a flamethrower attack goes through a wall. I don't know why, but that's how it is. And when you have the arena, it's just a spherical room. Nothing. It's flat. That means every attack has the full potential reach that can be thrown at you. So it makes the arena more difficult, but at the same time you could potentially farm more efficient with that. I personally say it's neglectable about the efficiency. I say use the third option. The third option is basically move on to another stage and continue. So you keep your character, your abilities, your level, but you just change the stage. But it also means it will additionally increase the difficulty of the level. So the enemies will be leveled up, the bosses will be leveled up, because in the end, the idea is not that you keep playing forever. It is meant that you will fail at some point, and you will, because you will be overwhelmed, because the masses of enemies and the damage will simply kill you at some point, and you cannot like dodge everything for all the time. And that's basically in contrast to Death Must Die. Like, it's the same genre, but it's quite a different feeling to it, right? So a lot more of action is going on here, in contrast to that. But both games are great, because they do the same genre a bit differently. And I'm not really going to continue this. I could just stop instead of dying, but hey, where's the fun in that, right? So I just died here when you saw the game slow down. That's what happens if you revive. You basically have a slowdown in the game. You get some HP back. See, there. And you keep going. But like basically I had like two revives, and now if I get killed again I would be dead. So let's surrender. Again, if you're interested in the stats, they are all here wonderfully explained, but mostly you will not spend too much time here. Mostly you will probably just look at your level and then go back. I say this game is very interesting for a bullet hell game, and I think you can spend a lot of good time in it because there's a lot of things you can unlock, you can level. And I think achievement hunters will be will be happy anyway, as with every game. But yeah, the only other two games that come to mind when it goes to bullet hell function, not in the original sense, but in this genre, is literally Halls of... Wow, I forgot the name. Halls of... something something. Give me a moment. Let's go back here for a second. Put some music up. Halls of Torment, for example. If you are really, really into Diablo-style games, Halls of Torment is a good recommendation to that. Let's see. Let's see. I can show you this. So Halls of Torment is basically that. As you see, it's basically like Diablo. So if you ever played Diablo 1 or 2, this style is very recognizable to you. And it's the same genre. This is again a bullet hell game. And it's more similar to Death Must Die, but it doesn't use the God tell you story thing. It's purely this Diablo style experience. Massive amounts of enemies, kill them, get skills, kill more. So if that from the style of game is more your thing, then House of Torment is certainly a better pick. And the interesting part is literally that these games, these bullet hell games, came into existence not because bullet hell games were not a thing before, because before this, what was Darkness? Bullet hell. What was its name? Against Extreme? Against Great Darkness. There we go. Let's see. So basically, when people talk about a bullet hell game, this is what a usual bullet hell game is. You play a spaceship, a character, in a small area, and you defeat enemies and dodge a lot of bullets. This, by the way, is a game I'm most likely gonna play in the future. This game takes on a special take in the bullet hell franchise. Basically, it's like, hey, what if we crossed pinball or wall breaker with a shoot 'em up bullet hell game? That's basically this. It's an interesting take on the entire thing. But that's what usually bullet hell games are. So, Vampire Survivors, on the other hand, is basically the game that put bullet hell games back on the site for people. So this is more towards an retro style, but also anime style. Same thing, tons of characters, restricted levels in size, but this game also has a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to actually play. It looks extremely chaotic, but it's extremely fun. Today I'm going to change my topics, my categories so much. It's crazy. So it looks very chaotic, I understand that, but it's actually quite playable. And you have a ton of characters to unlock. There are a good amount of abilities which are built around the idea to find different abilities that then fuse together into an evolved ability. And it has story. Yes, it actually has story. And it also has secrets to find. There are secret bosses, secret areas that you have to unlock in specific ways. So it's not just, hey, here's a level, grind it, have fun. So they put a lot of thought into this. And yes, they have a good amount of DLCs to it, but as you might see, they are not expensive. We talk about $2 or $3. And you even can buy the entire bundle. Like, look at this. You can buy the game, all DLCs, and the soundtrack currently for less than $12. And I can tell you, those DLCs are worth it. They are not bad DLCs. They are good DLCs. And they still keep updating the game. And this game is out since October 22, so quite some time. I always say, like, if someone wants to get an introduction into bullet hell games like this, I would usually say, like, play Vampire Survivors. It's an easy introduction, it's good, it might feel strange at first of having just a character walking around and that's all you do, but at some you should just play it, get a feel for it, and then decide if you really like this genre or you don't. Because not everybody is going to like this genre. Even I was at first very much in the shoes of like, I'm not sure if this is good. I mean, come on, you walk around, that's it. And then I started watching streams and suddenly I thought like, it's actually quite fun. And then I gave Vampire Survivors a try, and since then I'm convinced that I really like this genre. It's like, it's fun, but not every single game that comes out in this genre is automatically good. So, it depends. You can ask, like, are you more a Diablo style player, or do you not mind some retro anime style game? Do you want something more cartoonish but that has a lot of grind but also a lot of unlocks? Then Soulstone Survivors is more your thing. And if you want something that is more geared towards a mix of those, including Hades style gameplay, then Death Must Die is most likely more interesting to you. So if you ever want to dip in this kind of genre, here are a few games that you could give a try. And they are all not very expensive. And even then, like, if you're not sure, if you don't want to risk it, get it in a sale. And even then, if you try it for 2 hours, under 2 hours, you still can give it back if you feel like it's absolutely not your thing. Hey. But yeah, regardless, that's basically a look into what is a bullet hell auto battler. And yeah, some people like the genre, some people don't. That's okay.